On the low, I don't talk a lot. You talk more shit than the beauty shop. We can get it poppin' like the parking lot. We can get it poppin' like the parking lot.
Hey, y'all. What's up? It's your girl, Bonnie Stone.
What's going on, people? It's your girl, Miss Phenom.
And you are now tuned into Question the Culture.
Whoop. You already know. So today we got something that's going to be nice and informational for y'all. So get your pen and your pad along with your poison and your pleasure as we get this party rocking. You feel me? But as usual, we starting with what you already know, the honorable mentions. That's right. So to kick it off, we got my little man, 12-year-old Christophe Malou, who succeeded in swimming the crossing from St. Lucia to Martinique within 13 hours. This challenge has been attempted by a few people and all who were older than him. It was part of a Pink October, which is to support the League Against Cancer. So he's supporting his mother and all women with cancer. This was his third challenge, and his first one dates back to 2017 at 9 years of age. So salute to you, Christophe. Move on down to New York City. Juneteenth has become an official holiday in New York State as Cuomo has signed the bill. We know Juneteenth is recognized from June 19, 1865, when a group of enslaved people in Galveston, Texas discovered they were actually free 3 years after the Emancipation Proclamation passed. Now, on June 17th, Cuomo made it a holiday for state employees. 2 days later, Blasio made it a city and school holiday, and now it's an official state public holiday. So everybody, besides July 4th, we celebrate in Juneteenth in 2021. You feel me? Moving up to Cali, we got Compton Mayor Aja Brown, who is offering 800 low-income residents 2 years of guaranteed income. She says she recognizes that there's a need for additional income, especially with unemployment rates at an all-time high due to the pandemic. And this is a great opportunity to address inequalities for Black and Brown people, as well as opportunities for upward mobility. So far, private donors have contributed $2.5 million to the fund for guaranteed income, and it will be administered by the city's Compton Community Development Corporation, with each selected family receiving a few $100s on a recurring basis, as well as tools to help them with financial guidance, which is a major key. What's the sense of having the money if you don't know how to make sure you use it properly? So salute to Aja Brown and Compton for doing your part. Stone, that's all I got for honorable mentions.
Cool, it's crazy because you said something about financial literacy, and actually that is our topic today. So, we just want to explore and want to know more information about how we can keep our Black people financially literate. I know me growing up personally, my mom was a single mom. We lived in the projects. I wasn't taught anything about financials or taxes or savings accounts or real estate property or anything like that. That's something that I learned when I was a little older. I actually knew somebody, and she would always talk about her credit score. And I was like, why the hell you always talk about a credit score? And then I didn't know how lucrative that is. So, I'm in a situation right now where I started cleaning up my credit. It took me I gave myself like 5 years. I was able to do it in like 3. It's something that you really have to want to work on. But let me tell you something. Once you get your credit score up there, because my shit is excellent right now, like knock on wood. I can go out and buy a fucking Tesla and a mansion if I want to. And, it's just leverage. Your interest rates come down on things. Like, for instance, I bought a house a few years ago. I put it up on the market, and the return that I'm getting on the house is amazing opposed to renting. You're paying someone else when you could be owning a property, and you can use that equity to leverage other things, college fund for your kids, or maybe you want to take that money and start some sort of business. But, that's not things that they teach us. They promote, the flashy shit. And we got to get out of that mindset. But you know, what's your thoughts?
But for me, like
Mhm.
you said, I wasn't taught that, but I was, for whatever reason, I just was a saver in general. As I got older, I was pretty good with my credit cards. It wasn't until college that I actually got a less responsible. And then the student loans came in. Then you start feeling like you need to survive and you get these credit cards. And when no one teaches you about interest rate and things of that nature, you don't really know the long-term results of your actions right then and there. So like you, when I finally got a little bit older, it did take me a while to understand the importance of credit score. And it took the circle that I was in. It was the people that I was working with at work. It was my boss who was talking about stocks and telling me, giving me tips on what I should invest in. And I'm like, I don't know these stocks. And he's like, well, and he sat me down and he told me, he explained to me who, what, when, where, why, you know? So it's also important that we look outside of our bubble when we need to find out information for life. We need to make sure that the people we're surrounding ourselves with, we look at how they're dealing with their credit so that we can learn more from them. So I'm very appreciative of, although I didn't get it from, you know, my mom and stuff, I was able to be surrounded by people that was in that space. And I'm investing in stock. I understand more than I did when I was in my 20s. And real estate is definitely something that I feel like us as Black people need to really invest in, because my cousin, he always says people always need a place to live. And if you invest in what people are going to need, you will always see a ROI, return on investment.
You know what's so sad though, Phenom? It's like people mess up their credit and they get such in a rabbit hole they don't know how to dig themselves out of. And if you don't have the job that's going to make the means justify the ends, then it's like you're just screwed, you know? And a lot of people are not willing to sacrifice, because like my grandmother always says, she's like, save $5 a week. That's like $20 a month. If you just put that, you know, it accumulates over years, but people don't think about that. It's like just 20, you can't sacrifice $20, you know, and put it away. And then over the years, before you know it, you have a little goose egg. But, you know, a lot of it is mindset. A lot of it is, we're just
Discipline.
not taught that. Yeah. And we don't see it. But, you know what time it is. Let's bring in our guest today. Absolutely.
So, you know, today we want to explore and open our community to financial literacy, making sure that we're doing our part to get our people on board on stocks, bonds, 401ks, life insurance. Like, if you're not working in a, you know, 95 corporate setting, you cannot be privy to some of these things, and you may have to do it on outsourcing. So we need to understand all of these things, because it don't matter if you got some jewelry, if everything all your assets are material. You shouldn't be able to look in your house and all your value is there. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We have a gentleman who is going to assist us in helping you in your financial planning. Let's welcome Mr. Uri Robinson.
Yo, what's up? How y'all doing?
How are you tonight?
I'm good. I'm actually ready to go to sleep.
Oh no, we woke over here. We stay woke. You got to get your wokeness on, brother.
Yeah.
Information you got today.
Yeah, and I'm always willing to talk about money. This is like one of the topics I could be up all night talking about, because like money in general, like nowadays I feel like with social media, more Black people are talking about money. But as I think back, it was one of those kind of like taboo topics for some reason. I'm like, nah, I'm trying to figure out how to get this bread. So we need to talk about it.
I feel like it's interesting you made that point, because I feel like it was taboo because, first of all, we were taught to never ask anybody about their money. You don't ask about how much somebody make. You don't ask them about savings and checkings, you know, things of that nature. It's just everybody just does their thing hush hush. For a long time, our people didn't even believe in banks. We would put our money under the mattress. So when it came to money, it wasn't something that we really looked at as like we want to work towards, because we were so used to working for others, that we were never looking to, you know, upward mobility for us and our generation for generational wealth. We were always making money for others. So I feel like in our culture, money is not seen as something that's that important. You know what I'm saying? We discuss family and love and stuff like that, and we neglect the real life situations of what money does for us.
Yeah, and even like historically with my family, and I'm not even sure if I had to do like any type of introduction or anything of that sort, but you know, I got heavily into trying to understand money when I was doing my family tree. And so as I was like looking back through my lineage, I was able to trace my lineage back to my third great grandfather, who was labeled as property in the state of Virginia. And so going from that time in the 1800s, which wasn't long ago, to now, nobody historically in my family has generated a value of wealth that can be consistently passed down. And I was like, dang, my family broke. And like, no shots to my family or nothing like that. But I'm just saying, just in the whole aspect of passing things down, that's what we got to get used to. Because if you ain't passing things down, you most likely are building a burden. And
Yeah.
I ain't trying to be none of that, right?
You know what's funny is because you know, I talked to my husband, I'm like, how do these white people be having all this money? He's like, oh, they pass it down generation to generation. But one thing that I failed to realize is that a lot of that startup is from life insurance policies.
Right.
So a lot of people that I know don't have a life insurance policy at all.
Right.
And then if they do, they either do maybe like a term life insurance policy and then they get rid of it if they can't pay it anymore, or they do a I forgot what the other one is called.
Oh, as far as like a whole life insurance?
Yeah, whole life insurance. So like, for instance, so I found the benefit for me was to get the whole life insurance because somewhere down the line, like you could borrow back from that if need be.
Right.
You know what I mean? And cash out at some point. But a big thing for me is this like life insurance policy.
Right.
Because if something happens, then you're giving, you know, your child that leverage to now start to maybe possibly begin that generational wealth somewhere along the line.
Yeah, that's basically like where most inheritances are. Like most people are becoming wealthy either through real estate or life insurance. And so my own personal story about life insurance, I had a good friend of mine that was my frat brother. His name was Bryant Rowe. And kind of abruptly, I got, you know, notification that he got hit by a train in New York. And what was the craziest and saddest thing to see was we're at the funeral up in Long Island, and the people were passing the hat trying to pay for the funeral, like the day of the funeral. And like since that moment, one of my good friends who was a life insurance agent, I made sure, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna make sure that I have a conversation with like every Black person I know. So I got licensed and understanding life insurance and things of that sort. And it is literally a tool that you can use to build wealth. And one of the misconceptions is, oh, I'm buying insurance, I can't use it. I'm just putting money into something and I can't use it. And that's 100% not true, depending on the type of policy that you get. And so as an example, in 2011, I opened up my first policy on myself. And I was paying roughly, this is about $195 a month. And there's various options that you can kind of do in the policy. And I would put an extra $100 into the policy every month. So in total, I'm paying $295 for a life insurance policy every month since 2011. So as of today, and this is what, 9 years later, that I have access to cash value over about 30 grand to use for whatever that I can borrow from myself. I don't need to go to a bank to go get some bread. I can borrow from myself, pay myself back. Don't have to worry about people hounding me for payments because I'm paying myself back. And then even if I had passed away, nobody has to pay that loan back. And so that's just those three things in general is kind of just like a win-win-win for anybody in there.
But Yuri, what do you say?
Go
Go ahead,
For
Pheno.
that one, I just want to ask, because when you do 401k, there that whole conversation of penalties open up.
Right.
So with life insurance, do you have to deal with penalties? Are there different rules for life insurance with borrowing money before a certain amount of time or
Right.
things of that nature?
So the type of policy I'm referring to is whole life policy. So it's pretty much permanent policy in the sense of once you get the policy, you are making the payment every month for the rest of your life, pretty much. And so as you're making those payments, your cash value is building. It'll start like the first couple of years at like $0, right? But you have to have a long-term type of thinking when you are getting this policy. As it builds up, you can borrow it from yourself at an interest rate, right? So this is how like the insurance companies will make a little money. So as an example, the interest rate on my loan would be like 5%, but that's much better than a credit card of
24%, 27.
Right. And so when you make that loan, like there's no penalty, no nothing, because you have paid it with after-tax dollars. So there's no tax in general.
Yeah.
And the fact that, it's just grown over time. So you pay yourself back, as you need to, as you get the money back. And kind of like I mentioned, if you pass away, all they're going to do is take the balance from whatever the inheritance amount is. So you got a $250,000 policy and you borrowed 30 grand and then you get hit by a bus the next day, then whoever your beneficiary is going to get $220,000. That still ain't nothing to sniff at. Like that's still some good money. And so it just gives you flexibility that, that the average person never knew they had until they had gotten the policy and just understood how it works.
But Yuri, I want to be clear about something too, because like I was saying, for me, when I did finally sit down with somebody, we discussed term and we discussed whole life.
Right.
Now, for me, whole life, for me, I was like, no, this is the way to go because you have that option. You're paying into it for yourself. However, we all know, well, we all don't know, but term is a little cheaper, right? Right. So, but with that being said, people are always like, oh, I don't have the extra dollars to put into a life insurance policy. So what would be your suggestion for people?
The first thing I would say is stop lying to yourself. So when it comes to a person's budget, you can tell a lot about a person's life when you look at their budget. People have the money to pay for a life insurance policy if it means you're not going to do other things that you like to do, right? Not to say that you're just going to be stuck in the house all the time. But I mean, people spend money frivolously on just all kind of stuff. And so I understand that, policies can be a little more expensive, but that's where, one, you have to budget. You got to look at, what's coming in, what can you afford to put out. But you also got to have that long-term thinking. Any person that gets with a life insurance agent, they're usually going to show you what's called an illustration to say, hey, this is how the payment is going to look from age whatever to age 121 if you live that long, right? And it's going to show you, as long as you make the payments every month, here is, for the most part, the guaranteed cash value you're going to have over time. And when you think long-term, what it's going to show you is after about 20 years, per se, you're going to have access to more money that you had paid into the policy. So it's essentially like an investment account, even though we don't classify it as an investment per se, right? But it is something that can build, money over time that you have access to. So in the future, right, it may not benefit you, but if you have a child or a grandchild, right, that's either going to college or graduating college, what better way to help them out than just cover the down payment on their house, right? And like that's how wealth gets built, as far as having access to capital. If Black people in general just had access to the type of money that white people had access to, life would be a whole different environment, right? And so that's just one of those things where that's my goal, is to make sure people are fiscally literate to understand how money works. And life insurance is just like one piece of the game. So
what's the second piece of the game?
I was about to say, are we going to go to stocks?
Yeah, I mean, well, actually, to dial back, I mean, the first part is budgeting, right?
Yes.
And really understanding and being true to yourself as to where your money is going. we're flashy people. Like,
Yeah, that's what, hold on. Let me cut you off for a second because I did want to mention that. So what does a person do, right? You're flashy, you know, Black people, we like to shine.
right.
So what would be your advice to those people that say, but you know what, I still need those Yeezys that come out. I still need that Champion sweatsuit that come out. I still need to keep up the appearance. So how do people juggle both? Or is it possible? Or do you think they're gonna have to sacrifice that flashy lifestyle to obtain something for the future?
I would say there is going to be a little bit of sacrifice, but I would say a short-term sacrifice for the long-term gain. One thing I would always recommend, especially for people who are flashy, right? If you like Jordans as an example, you need to own a part of Jordan before you're splurging into Jordan, right? So that's where stocks comes in as an example, right? So like with my cell phone, even though I have an Apple cell phone, I have Apple stock, and it's growing over time. If I want to sell it, I can get a good piece of change, right? And with that cell phone bill, who am I paying every month? Verizon. And so as you start to learn about the companies that you're buying from, you'll realize a couple of things. And so with Verizon, they are a type of company where if you buy shares into their company, they're going to pay you a check every 3 months. It starts off small, right? And so as you continue to invest in the company, they're going to reinvest in you. They're going to pay you back, a piece of being a shareholder. So if a person can get into that mindset early, and I'm talking about early, like in their teens, right? By the time they're like in the mid 20s, they would be able to have like stock to pay their Verizon bill. So then you never have to worry about the cell phone bill again, because the company that you're patronizing is actually paying your bill every month.
And I want to put a quick pin in that, because when I first got into stocks, that was the number one thing that they sat down and said to me: if you don't know where to start where you're putting your money.
Right.
On a regular day, where are you going? Are you going to CVS every other day? Get stocks at CVS. And so because whoever's watching this, we want to try to give them basic, little nibbles so that they can write us down. So first you said, be realistic about your budget.
Right.
Down what your monthly bills are looking like, what your entertainment life looks like, and really weed out the wants and the needs.
Mm-hmm.
And then you also, we're referring to stock. If you don't know anything about stock, start out with what you personally invest in for yourself.
Right.
Yeah,
it's one of those things, with the stock market, right? And the term I'm referring to are dividends, right? And
yes.
So as you begin to get money and not have to work for it, it organically will change your mindset on things. When you get extra money, you can be like, let me just keep putting it over here in this one company or this other company, and that snowball that's going to start at, we'll just say like $4 every other month, right? That's not a lot when you start, but as you continue to reinvest, that $4 turns into $40. That $40 turns into $400. Next thing you know, you have enough to pay your rent every month, right? Or to pay your mortgage every month. And so it'll get kind of addicting, to be honest. Because you can be like, man.
Instead of checking Instagram, you checking the stocks on your phone every time.
Right. And, I was having a conversation, with my wife about an article that had come out where they talk about like the average rent in like certain areas of DC are like $4,000 a month, something crazy, right? And she was like, are people really out here like paying that? And like, yeah, because people out here actually have that amount of money. And so as you have that financial literacy, you'll realize that being able to obtain certain types of lifestyle is actually fairly easy. The hard part is, when do you start, right? The time to start is always yesterday. And so if you haven't started investing, invest yesterday, which means the minute you wake up from the night's sleep, it's time to start investing or educating yourself about investing. Because
hold on 1 second. I don't mean to cut you off, brother.
Mhm.
Because the way you talking, you trying to talk like it's just that easy. So I'm a the
Yeah.
shit ain't just that easy.
Right,
So
right.
I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
Last week, I went on TD Ameritrade.
Right.
They have this minor program.
Mhm.
So for my daughter, I put in my information, her social. I want to get started and put some money aside to her. I looked, I have no idea what I'm doing. So right now I'm sitting with an open account. They're in my email saying, all right, let's continue. And I'm like, I'm stuck. I don't know what to do next. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So the way you're talking is, like it's easy. So where exactly do you begin? How do you start? Do I need to go take a class? What do somebody like me, when we get off of this podcast, I need to go and figure this out. So what would be my next step?
Yeah, there's a lot of free resources, especially through services like TD Ameritrade, Fidelity, E-Trade, right? Where they can give kind of like overview of stocks. One thing to understand, when you get a chance, just watch the news as an example, especially the news channels that talk about the stock market. There's going to be terms that's going to be foreign language to you, right? But for each term you don't understand, literally look it up and start to understand what these terms mean. Because I'm not gonna lie, the first time I started getting investing, I was just like, what is a earnings call? Why is everybody hyped about a percentage gain? There's only 1%. Like, what does all this stuff mean? And so fundamentally, you want to think about, like I said earlier, companies that you're putting your money towards, right? And whether you believe they're good companies and whether they're going to grow, just before you even do any research, a company that you patronize, do you feel like they're going to grow over time? After just a quick kind of fundamental guess, right? Because that's all you're doing is guessing.
Right.
That's when you start to research about the company, right? Who is the CEO? How does that person, interact with the public? Who is in the management team, right? And it sounds like a lot of boring stuff. I ain't gonna lie. It sounds boring, right? But this is what gives you the confidence into believing that your money is going to grow with that company. Because essentially, you are giving money to a company. They're going to use that money to either make new products, hire better employees, get better management, and you want a return on your investment. And so you don't want to give money to a company and be losing money. Like, that's not the goal.
You know what? That's a good point that you make. And I'm glad you said that, because I would have never thought of that aspect.
Right.
To go and look, because I was reading something, I forgot what I was looking on. A lot of people were invested in weed companies, and they're like, we're not making any money. I lost a lot of money. But you're absolutely right. If you're not looking into this company's policies, values, the CEO, what the growth rate is, that's something that I thought of. So I do that.
In with the stock market, there are so many factors that can affect the price. So with the weed marijuana industry, it definitely has an upside, but it is not federally mandated yet. So it literally has a constraint on it. It can't bust out of the cell and just go crazy. And so with that, that's why I personally don't invest in it, because there's a limitation to it, right? There's probably like sparks is like, oh, one state here, they passed a law for that state, they passed a law for that state. But until it's federal and you could just walk around with a dub sack in the airport with no problem, there's really not going to be a huge economy boom across the nation. Because whenever that happens, then whoever was an early investor, obviously, they're going to be probably like instant millionaires, right? Just because everybody's going to have access to it with no restrictions. So you have to think about, how is the product that you're investing in, how does it affect how other people spend their money? And so as you start to do this research, you're going to start to get a little more interested in to what these congressmen and these congresswomen are talking about on the news. What crazy ass Trump is tweeting, right, can drastically affect the stock market in a matter of seconds. And so this literally happened last week where, the president had tweeted, I forgot what exactly he tweeted, but the market tanked like at least like 6 to 7%. And a lot of people had lost money. And I'm in a lot of circles, in the stock market realm that I chat with people at. I have my own community, and everybody was like, WTF. And it all happened because of a tweet. And so it's a lot of education that you have to be aware of when it comes to investing.
So I want to double back just a little bit back to the daily budgeting, to the budgeting. So a couple of things. When it comes to savings, I'm noticing that online, like opening up online savings accounts with like Ally and stuff like that, whose interest rates are ridiculously low, and they're giving you a return on your interest, return on your investment of what you save. Like people, do you think people should start looking more at those type of companies to invest in instead of the typical, oh, I got a Chase account, so I'm just gonna open up a savings account with Chase? Because there's so many, but they're only online, so people get nervous when you don't have accessibility to walk up to an ATM and say, I want to tap into my savings. I think people are missing out on savings accounts whose interest rate is in your favor based on it being online only. So I want you to touch on that a little bit, if you know, and also Acorn, things where you have your spare change and it just, like, I did Acorn and I'm like, I have $400 saved and I don't even know how that happened. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I think people overlook these little things that over time can assist when it comes to savings. So just tap a little bit on those things. Do you think it's helpful?
Yeah, so a couple pieces, because, I definitely realize that when it comes to financial behavior, different folks are at different levels of their financial literacy, their financial behavior. Apps like Acorn are awesome, right? If you know personally, you are not the best saver of money, and Acorn can be a forcing function, I'm all for it, right? Because some people only have 6 months of saving experience. Some people saving for decades, right? It just all depends. Hopefully it changes your behavior from saving a little bit to not even needing a service like Acorn, to where you just know, I'm going to save $50 a week into my savings account. And so, with savings account in general, I kind of have I would say a love-hate relationship with savings accounts, right? So I believe everybody should have an emergency fund, right? And so what I mean by emergency fund is, I'm talking about, it is the complete last resort. Like, that should be the account you touch right before you think about robbing somebody. Like that, I'm talking about the drastic account. And when you look back at all the money you may have put into a savings account in the past, just think about where it went. At the end of the day, you probably spent it on something. It may not be as much as an emergency as you would have thought, looking back. And so after you have an emergency fund, after that, all money should be invested. And it doesn't matter what type of investment, right? But it needs to be put somewhere that can grow. Like you need your money to make babies, pretty much, so that you can keep on, building up that snowball that I had mentioned. And so that's where the stock market comes in, and that's where real estate comes in. That's where potentially starting a business comes in. There's a lot of ways to do it, and it can be a scary, daunting task at first. But at the end of the day, it all comes down to the education of it, right? Once you understand, how to start a business, or how to invest in real estate, or how to purchase one stock, of a company, then you are now experienced in it, and then you can do it over and over again. A lot of people don't just jump on a bike and immediately know how to ride. Like, you have to learn it, right? And you're gonna crash a couple times. Not everything is a win, right? But those are things that you'll learn over time, and it's better to learn now than to learn later. And so,
but this is what I want to know, though.
Mhm.
So I'm a local person. I'm working at the local chicken fixin'. Okay. I ain't making that much money now.
Right.
What is going to be the minimum amount of money that you think me working at the local chicken fixin' is comfortable or able to donate to this cause that will make a difference? So are we talking, because before you came on, I was talking to Miss Phenom and I said, you know, I had a grandmother who said, hell, save $5 a week, that's $20 a month. And if you keep saving over years, it'll be a decent amount of money, you know, in the future. So what do you think the minimum amount of money that somebody could put towards this and really, you know, 30 years from now, 20 years from now, really see and make a difference?
I would say that's a loaded question.
Because
yeah.
like I said, like for you, you said I had a whole term policy. I was paying $195. And then I put another
Right.
$100 on. Now I'm at $200. Everybody don't got $300 to put.
Completely agree. Right.
Bonnie, that's why like he said, the acorn for someone who may not be, because basically that's just taking the money that you're spending and it's taking like your spare change. So for someone who's at a chicken fixins, like the first concept would be get yourself a bank account where you can open it up with $25. You know what I'm saying? Open it up with $50. And then when you can connect it to an app like Acorn, when you use that, when you're just going to the store, they're taking your spare change and you don't even realize on an average day how many times you swipe that card.
And that's going in the stock market or a savings account though?
No, it's in a savings, but it's also connected to stock. Like, you know,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, okay.
So you can, that's why I like Acorn, because I also do stock, but Acorn is just something that
on the extra. Yeah. You know what the crazy thing is too, I know a couple people who do the Acorn. I didn't connect on that. I'm more of the type of person where like I have a bank account and I also have a savings account with a credit union. I want to get into that for a second too. So I do take my money, you know, I'm a firm believer in when I get my paycheck, I pay my bills, I pay myself.
Right.
And then the rest of the money I could fuck away if I want to. Right. So I want to talk about, do you think there's a major difference between a credit union and an actual traditional bank? And if so, what are the benefits?
Well, one of the things I notice about credit unions is, of course, they're much smaller in scale than your Bank of America's, your Wells Fargo, and so it's a little easier to build a relationship, because that's really all a bank is about, right? A bank is a place where you hold money or you borrow money. Those are really the only two things you're doing at a bank. So if you choose to borrow money, right, and we're talking about like a car loan or a mortgage, things of that sort, it's better to have a relationship with a banker because they can kind of hook you up in a sense, because they know the process, right, as far as being able to get loans. As far as, you know, holding money into a savings account, and this doesn't matter if it's a credit union or just a regular bank, there is what's called the rule of 72 to learn how long is it going to take for you to double your money in an investment, right? So and the equation is basically 72 divided by whatever the interest rate is, right? So that with that as a good interest rate for savings accounts, it's going to take you 36 years for your money to double. And the question is, with all the other type of investment opportunities, are you willing to wait 36 years for your money to double? Most people aren't once they realize it, right? When you just put your money in the savings account and you don't keep that into consideration and be like, yo, that $30 ain't gonna turn into $60 until 2100, like the year 2100, right? And so when you think of it like that, you're like, yo, I need to put my money like somewhere else. Like I gotta hustle, I gotta figure this out. And so as you begin to learn about, you know, various investments, then other things become more advantageous, right? So like as an example, Verizon, as an example that I mentioned earlier, they have an average like 4% return just in dividend payments, right? So in a yearly basis, like if you put $1,000 into Verizon, you're going to get back, what is that, like 40? Yeah, you're going to get back about $40 a year, and you still have your money growing. And so the types of returns are crazy. And so as I mentioned, companies like Apple, right? if you would have put your money in Apple a year ago, right, it would have been roughly about like $67 per share. And then fast forward a year, that $67 is now worth like 117.
Yeah.
So it's, at that point, almost double. You've almost doubled your money in the year. And so when you start to look at statistics like that in various companies, you're like, man, 100% or 2%, right? Like the numbers just kind of speak for themselves. And so I would say our community misses out just because we don't know about it. Once we understand it, it's a wrap.
I think there's also a fear though, because we like security and stability. And
right.
People have this misconception. No, it's not a misconception. It is a fact. But I think it's the fear needs to be dissolved a little bit of
right.
If I put my money in this, I'm never going to see it again. It's just automatically going to disappear. And
right.
I don't know how to talk to a mother of 3 children who has a savings account and feels comfortable and safe with that she can touch that whenever she needs to, and telling her, hey, that $1,000 that you can touch whenever you need because that's stability, why don't you take that 1,000 and put it here?
Right.
Because of that, like, how do you, or basically what you're saying is you just gotta be in a space to be willing to have a disposable set of income to take that risk.
Well, yeah, and there's the whole quote, scared money don't make money, and it's true. Most of the people that have made a lot of money have risked a lot in life to get to a certain point. I think if everybody took, let's just say, 1 hour a week, right, and you spent 1 hour a week attempting to learn about money, right? Even if you didn't have any guidance, you didn't have any coach, anything like that, where you just spent 1 hour a week, we'll just say on a Sunday evening, learning about a specific financial topic that you had no clue about the week before. If you did that every week, so that's basically you put in 52 hours in 1 year learning about money, and then look back, you would have learned so much in that 52 hours. Now, what if you double that the next year? Then you put in 104 hours learning about the market. So in about 2 years, without spending a lot of time, you can learn a lot about money and then apply it in that 3rd year. And so from that perspective, always harping on like the education space to it, like just learning about it, right? As long as you are consistently like bettering yourself to learn about money, because at the end of the day, everybody has an industry. It doesn't matter if you are in computers, if you're a hairdresser, you're a janitor, if you're in school, everybody has to learn about money because money runs everything, whether, people like to say it or not. Y'all living in some nice spaces. Somebody had to pay for that, right? And so there's always going to be a money aspect to it. And so that's what I always harp on, is just understanding how money works.
Yeah, I agree. I like I said before, you came on, Miss Phenom, and I were talking, and I was just explaining to her how, I had a friend and she was always harping on credit score, and I was like, why are you always talking about that?
Right.
And it took me, I had a 5-year plan. I did it in 3. I cleaned up my credit score, and it was the best thing that I could have ever done. It opened up so many doors for me. Unbelievable. You know what I mean? So with that being said, we'll take you out. Final thoughts. What is the final thing that you will tell people to start with to get this whole ball rolling? Even if they can invest a little bit of money, where should they start to get this thing going?
We'll definitely start with the budget, right? Write things down. A lot of people, don't write down their budget as far as when they get their check, where is that money going to? So first, budget, and then the second thing is pay yourself first. So whenever you get paid, there should be a portion that's dedicated to you. Because at the end of the day, like, there shouldn't be anybody more important than you. I know they say, it's family and your children and stuff like that. Look, if you ain't around, then what does all that mean, right? So pay yourself first. And then as you are paying yourself first, that's what I would then call doing broke investing, right? You are going broke by investing. So it's not in the sense of you're broke because you've blown the money. No, you are storing that money so that it can continue to grow over time. When we talk about wealth, wealth is not anything from a monetary perspective. Wealth is a question in the sense of, if you could not work any more starting tomorrow, how long will your money last you, right? A lot of people will be like, yo, I got 30 days and they struck. And so think about that question anytime you're budgeting, anytime you're saving your money. You want to get to the point where you can be like, look, I don't have to be at work, right? Everybody would love to be able to say that, but the fact is not a lot of people can say that. And so that should be your motivation, because at the end of the day, people aren't really getting rich to buy cars and to buy jewelry. They're buying freedom, right? They want to have the freedom to do whatever they want, wake up whenever they want, eat whatever they want. That's what, having this type of money is for, because money is nothing but a tool, right? It's basically a tool to help you get to where you're going. Wherever you plan to go, that's your own personal journey. And so, budgeting, definitely investing and just educating yourself. And so it can be podcasts, it can be YouTube videos, it can be books. I'm going to reiterate it. It could be YouTube videos. There's so much free content on YouTube where you just type what is and then whatever term you're looking for, and they're going to explain it all for the most part. And so you can learn so much on YouTube that you can become a guru in the topic in, like a month, compared to most people think you got to go to college and be in school for 4 years to know something. You can be a YouTube genius in a short time frame.
Now, when it comes to investing for the illiterate, do you, like, if we were saying besides the YouTube, internet, you could Google anything. How do you feel about like a startup app like Robinhood?
Robinhood is great. One thing that Robinhood kind of changed the game with was, in the past, these various trading apps would charge you whenever you wanted to do a trade. So it doesn't matter if you buy 1 share of Ally Bank, 1 share Apple, 1 share Amazon, right? They're going to charge you $5.99 every time you do a trade. Robinhood made what's called commission-free trading. And so that has forced all of these other apps to be like, okay, we ain't gonna charge you anymore. And so from that perspective, is a real nice interface. You can trade from your phone. I highly recommend beginners open up a Robinhood account and kind of go from there.
I got one, and it helped me learn a lot, like, because they literally write out, should you buy, hold, sell. Like, it really is good for a financially illiterate person just starting out.
Another app I would recommend is an app called Doe. The reason I shout it out, because it's a Black-owned app. It's a Black-owned trading app. And
Nice.
they have a very, nice interface. And they actually, to me, look a little better than Robinhood, to be honest. But definitely check it out. It's a Black-owned app, and they're nice.
Great. So Yuri, let everybody know where to find you.
Yeah.
Just run down some quick services of yours and let the people know.
So on Instagram, you can look me up at Uri.Robinson. So URI.ROBINSON on Instagram. I have my website, UriRobinson.com. I have recently, starting in this past August, opened up a trading community called the Project Alpha Trading Community, where our goal is focusing on educating people into what's called options trading. And so for folks that are new to the stock market, this is a whole different portion of the stock market that not a lot of people will know about, just because it's not talked about in school. Unless you are in an advanced finance degree in college, you ain't gonna hear about options trading. And so this is where I'm educating people on all the various terms that are associated with it, strategies, things about the market to look for. And I mean, it's a type of industry where people can make 30, 40, 200% returns in a day.
Wow.
What is it, like day trading?
It can be like day trading. We would be here for like 4 more hours if I
Yeah,
started.
day trading, I'm not even trying to go,
Okay.
that's a different beast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so there's what's called day trading, and then there's what's called swing trading, in the sense of you can trade over a couple of days, right? So it's like you don't have to wake up and be looking at your phone every morning, but it's something where you can hold it, sell it a week later, hold it, sell it a year later. But it's just understanding the terminologies and what these large companies are doing, such as like the Vanguard, the Fidelities, things of that sort. You can literally invest like they're investing. And so I teach how to get into that and the best way to flourish with that.
Awesome.
Oh man, I appreciate you for coming on the podcast. Listen, we're gonna have to come back. You're gonna have to come back.
Yes.
Because you know why? I feel like when this podcast airs, people are gonna go, oh,
Question.
yeah. So we
I
appreciate
do want us
each
to
other
leave
for
the people
real.
with, I want us to leave the people with one thing I think we haven't said, and Candy said it, and she's great with her money. Live under your means.
Yeah.
You make $5,000 a month, act like you make $2,000 a month.
Right. And you know, one of the things, whenever I come back, I want to talk about is taxes, because you know, whether you like it or not, for anybody, look at your pay stub. Taxes are the largest expense that you're ever going to have, and it can get us some interesting conversations when we talk about taxes. I'm sure y'all just
go ask 50. Go ask 50.
We definitely we're gonna definitely have you back before tax season.
Right.
Oh yes.
Yeah, for sure. We appreciate you, brother.
No doubt. Glad to
Thank
be
you.
here.
Yes, thank
I
you
get
so
that
much.
much needed rest.
I know, right?
Yeah, for sure. Take care.
All right, thanks.
Be blessed.
Yeah, that was some dope information. You know, you got to check my man out, Yuri Robinson. He came through dropping that knowledge for Black people. But Phenom, let's move into our shameless plug sessions.
That wisdom is catching up. No.
And we keeping that too.
Nah, for real. No, but you know, speaking of financial literacy and everything, we always want to big up the entrepreneurs. And my shameless plug is an entrepreneur in health and wellness. And he goes by the name of DOC, the Director of Calisthenics. You feel me? This man can get you fit, right, tight, mentally, spiritually, and physically with his workouts. He's known out in Brooklyn. He started his whole squad, the Wingate crew, and he has been doing this thing for years. He has been on so many different platforms. And if anyone is out there trying to get their workout on for the winter, I know the gyms are closed. He is a personal trainer and he specializes in results. So shout out to DOC, Director of Calisthenics, based out in Brooklyn, who will give you the workout of your life that won't only change your body, but your mind. Health is wealth, people. Get into it.
Yo, word. Yo, big shout out to Doc, man. He's been doing his thing for a minute. I'm so proud of him. And my shameless plug shout out to King Prince and Wes Craven for coming through with the Barbershop Talk soundtrack. You know what I'm saying? I see that. There we go. That's out now. Y'all could download it. Yo, big shout out. I'm on there. Miss Phenom's on there. And this is some true hip hop shit.
Well, tell the people what it's all about. Tell the people what can they expect? What is
so
this?
really and truly, you know, they have a podcast. It's Barbershop Talk. It's unfiltered. So if you're gonna go in there and you're gonna act shy, that's not the place to be. What they did was a nice compilation CD of some dope artists, as you could see. You know what I'm saying? And it's just some real hip hop shit. If you're into that old hip hop 90s sound, ride around, roll up your blunt, because that's what niggas used to smoke back in the day. You know, maybe rolling raw papers or vapes or whatever. You definitely want to check this product out. So big shout out.
We're gonna put the info right
Keep
there.
it around, you know, thorough for authentic hip hop. Word.
Facts. That's what's up, man. Shout out to the brothers. We had a shameless plug for the brothers. It was just a straight brothers lineup today. Shout out to our Black men doing their thing, from entrepreneurs in entertainment to entrepreneur in health, like
just whatever you want to just say.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I appreciate.
Live your dream.
Like,
there's no limits.
Yeah, whatever you're good at, go out and hone on it. You know what I mean?
It starts here though, y'all.
Go out and hone on it and be unapologetic for whatever you do, because the reality is, if it's real and it's authentic, people are going to support it.
Fact.
Right? Phenom, you want to take them out?
Yes. Thank you again for coming through. I hope you guys had your pen and your paper, your poison and your pleasures, because we don't even come out here just to entertain you. We come out here to help and educate us and you as well. So I hope you got a lot out of this. If you got any questions, put them down in the comment section. And next episode, we might holler at y'all and answer some questions in the podcast. You feel me? So don't be shy. Click that subscribe button, click that like button, and tune in next week to Question the Culture. For now, you already know the motto. The love is free. The trust and loyalty is earned. Peace.
Stay ready so I never have to get ready. Every few weeks, got a tendency to get petty. Share friends, I done had plenty. What's love got to do if jealous ones still envy? My circle tight like Ben Wall. Even on IG, still wouldn't friend y'all. When you a big deal, the hate be so real. Some days a hot head, my neck be so chill. Came out the projects, the Ville to be exact. Pick up the litter, I ain't talking about tidy cat. No one can tame me, game done changed up. Got the large picture, mind frame changed up. For real, I be on the low, I don't talk a lot. You talk more shit than the beauty shop. We can get it poppin' like the parking lot. We can get it poppin' like the parking lot.